1. Blog Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Red Light Sports Ramble. I am Troy Otradovic, and as always, I'm joined with my co-host, Evan Watallison. And Evan, I got to tell the fans, you come in a little bit cranky today, one of those days, but I know this is our fun time. So I know it's not going to carry over into the Ramble, but it's all good. We all have those days, so put a smile on your face, bud. Everyone else, sit back and listen as we get ready to ramble about some key playoff games this weekend. Evan, we have notated 4 games that are pretty important in the playoff picture, and 2 of them, of course, directly related to the Green Bay Packers. But before we get into the 4 games and our upsets, let's just give, of course, our loyal listeners who are Packer fans and actually NFL fans. I mean, Twitter's blowing up now with the news, but let's give a quick recap of the Rodgers and the decision for him to play on Sunday. We're going to leave it at that. We've talked about it enough. Fill the fans in, then we're going to move into our NFL preview for the playoffs.
Well, Rodgers was ruled out today. Both McCarthy and Rodgers seemed a little cranky about it. When it was announced, and Rodgers thought he was good to go. McCarthy thought he was could be good to go, but my guess is the doctors disagreed, and Dr. McKenzie decided he wouldn't medically clear him. So, and the one comment I do have to make is all the people that are saying that if he was he should play. If he was tough, he would play. Brett Favre will be playing. No, he wouldn't. And it's not that Rodgers doesn't want to play. The medical staff is not clearing him to play. And 10 years ago, Rodgers would be out there probably last week playing, and you had said in the pre-show that 2 weeks ago he'd be out there playing. But this is a different NFL, and the medical staff has a lot more control. And if Brett Favre, as tough as he was, played in today's NFL, that streak wouldn't last. He would be, some of the injuries that he played through, he wouldn't be playing through in today's NFL. So we'll just leave it at that. And let's get into the games.
Yeah, let's leave it at that. Let's move forward. We got some good games to talk about. Got some very interesting matchups. We're going to start in the AFC first, Evan. We'll do the NFC North stuff at the end of our show because I have a lot of input.
Okay.
I have a lot of input there because it's so critical to the Packers' playoff hopes lie in these 2 games. First game, though, we're going to focus in the AFC, and it's the Patriots versus the Dolphins. And it's a very intriguing matchup, especially after San Diego beat Denver last night. This game becomes very important for the Patriots because they come in at 10-3, and the Dolphins come in at 7-6, and they currently lose the tiebreaker to the Ravens. So this game is very important to both clubs. And so I'm going to turn it over to you. I know you've got some key talking points about this game, but this is a critical game in that AFC.
Well, this game, on paper, it looks like a lopsided, easy Patriot win. It's the Patriots. Come on, Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to lead them to victory. He's MVP candidate again this year. Dolphins have who? Ryan Tannehill? Who's that kind of thing? So, on paper, this should look like an easy Patriot victory, but as Lee Corso would say, not so fast. Tom Brady does not have Gronkowski, the security blanket. So is Julian Edelman going to keep up his pace, which he's going to be going up against one of the better slot corners in the NFL that the Dolphins have. So he might not be able to find Edelman this week. And we did see last year with Wes Welker in the slot, when you slowed Wes Welker down, Brady was off his game a little bit. And I think if you slow down Julian Edelman, you slow down Tom Brady, because who's Tom Brady going to throw to? There's not really anybody on the field that he has trusted, I believe. I don't think he really trusts anyone right now except for Edelman. So if you slow him down, Brady might be in for a long day. And on defense, I don't know if the Patriots have anyone that can cover Mike Wallace. Mike Wallace isn't the best receiver there is, but he's still a very dangerous deep threat. And Tannehill does have a strong arm. He can beat them over the top. I do think the Patriots are going to end up winning. but I could see them winning by 2 to 3 points this week. It's going to be a lot closer than people think.
And I'm going to jump in here too, Evan, and say that even with Gronkowski, I mean, they had to have what I call a miracle comeback against the Browns and a call that I'm not going to get into in the end zone that we see a million times, and sometimes it's called, sometimes it's not. But
the PI?
Yeah, but I think the Dolphins have a lot more to play for in this game. I mean, if they lose, it's pretty much going to put them really on the outside looking in, especially now with the Chargers winning, like I said last night. But there's one thing that when I was looking and researching into this game, Ryan Tannehill has found a new target, and I'm not talking about Hartline and Wallace on the outside. I remember before you joined me as a co-host, I had talked and previewed the teams, and I thought that Keller was the best pickup for Tannehill because it gave him a security blanket. And it gave him that check down route. It gave him that guy that to throw 6 or 7 yards to. And that's what they were doing in the preseason until he had that devastating knee injury. Well, lately, there's a guy named Charles Clay. And my fantasy football teams are just in the crapper. I have no chance of winning any of my leagues. But this is a guy who I would look at.
Is that problem too?
I'll tell you, it's been one of those years in fantasy. But for those people that are playing fantasy that are listening that might need an upgrade at tight end, you might want to take a look at Charles Clay in Miami. Last week against Pittsburgh, Charles Clay had 7 catches for 97 yards. The guy is on pace to break the Dolphin record for receiving yards for a tight end. I think Tannehill has found that security blanket that I thought he needed to be a better quarterback. Instead of forcing the ball downfield all the time to the Wallace and the Hartline, now he has that third option, Evan. And I think when I watched the game last week, Tannehill is looking at his progressions. He's looking for that deep intermediate route, but then he's got Clay. And he's getting really comfortable with him. And honestly, if they can get Clay involved, I think they're going to give the Patriots a good run for their money. I'm with you on this one, though. I think the Patriots are going to squeak it out. But this is no rollover game. They're not going down to Miami and blowing this team out by 21, 28 points. This game is going to come down to the wire because I think the Dolphins can exploit them on defense and make it a really close game. But, that's my key for the game there is how well Tannehill to Clay works in this game to see if they can move the chains and score some points. But with that said, let's stay in the AFC, Evan. And we'll talk about, I don't want to call them my hometown Steelers, but I live out in Pittsburgh. So the Bengals come to Pittsburgh. Now the Steelers season 5-8. Bengals are 9-4. But this is a huge game for them to be able to try and clinch a playoff berth for the third straight year. And I'll give you a little comment that I've been hearing on sports radio about Pittsburgh when I give you my keys to the game and some things I think about the Bengals-Steelers games. But I'll let you take it away, Bud, and give your points to this game.
Well, with the loss yesterday by the Broncos, if I'm not mistaken, the Bengals still have a shot for first-round bye. Bengals have 4 losses, right?
Yep, they're 9-4.
And then the 9-4, and I think the Broncos are 3 losses on the year.
Yep, 11-3.
So the Bengals are still fighting possibly for that first round bye. And the Steelers aren't going to be a pushover. They're still the Steelers. They got Ben Roethlisberger. The Bengals are going to be without both of their starting corners, and one of their better defensive tackles is one of the better D tackles in the NFL is still out. He got hurt a few weeks ago with the ACL injury. So Bengals have some issues on defense. Roethlisberger is still a very good quarterback. And Pittsburgh's a very tough place to play. And I see Pittsburgh winning this game. Roethlisberger's going to have a last-second touchdown pass to give the Steelers the win.
You're giving all my Steeler listeners and all my fellow people I work with and live with around here some great hope because they don't think that's happening. on sports radio, I didn't hear the results, but the question as I pulled into work today is, do you think that you'd like to see the Steelers play hard but still end up losing their games to get a higher draft pick? That talk started coming out again, Evan. I hate that talk. You know how I feel about that. I don't believe in it.
Yeah.
I don't think that losing games is going to give you that much better of a player. Even if you're going to be guaranteed the number one pick in the draft, it's not going to guarantee you a better player. So you know, even if I was driving, I probably would have turned that off because I hate that talk. But I'm with you here. I think the Steelers have a great opportunity to be able to take down the Bengals. But I think the biggest concern I have of this game, that Bengals defensive line, where it doesn't have any superstars on it and a lot of players that are racking up double-digit sack numbers, they still get extreme pressure on the quarterback. And we both know the Steelers' offensive line is not very good because Big Ben has to.
Yeah, but you need like a Mack truck to get Roethlisberger on the ground, though.
And that's where I was going. But the thing is, I just, it's going to come down to how much can he extend these plays. And I know that the Steelers' defense hasn't played up to expectations this year. But when I look at being able to come in, Polamalu has been playing a lot more into the linebacker type position, and I actually like him playing there. I'm not sure if he does, but I think it fits what the Steelers need to do to get him closer to the line of scrimmage and make some more plays. I mean, he's lost a step. He's getting a little bit older. But I think that's a great move to be being able to play him in some of those situations. So the biggest key for me in this game is, can Roethlisberger extend enough plays to be able to put points on the board? I think he can. Because like you said, Heinz Field is a tough place to play. But I think that when Cincinnati comes in, I think the Steelers have enough on Sunday to win this game. I think this game's going to overtime. I know that the Bengals have been playing very well defensively, but what I was watching in the Dolphin game, I thought the Steelers' offense, and I've been saying this all year, I don't have a big problem with the Steelers' offense. I mean, their offensive line is patchwork together, and I know their center went down. Their second center went down a couple weeks ago. They're on their third center. But offensively, they're able to move the ball and put some points on the board. Defensively, where I thought that the team has been let down. But I think that the Steelers are going to win this game in overtime. So I'm with you there, bud. Let's now move into the games that are going to impact the Green Bay Packers.
One last comment on the Steelers.
All right, go ahead.
Am I the only one that thought it was funny that the Steelers lost the game right there on the sidelines, right about the same spot that Tomlin was on the field the Thursday prior? Was I the only one that kind of found that funny?
I'm not sure if you were the only one, because I heard a lot of talk about just on the radio. I heard the talk about, man, it would have been great if Tomlin was on the sideline. He would have been able to keep Brown in the field.
Yeah.
That's a comment that came out. I'm not sure what station it was on. I was flipping through the channels, but isn't it kind of weird how karma does come back and bite you sometimes? That's all I could think of when that happened. I was actually watching that game live on TV when that play happened, but amazing how there's a sideline incident and then the sideline costs them a win, but pretty funny. Yeah. So let's move into the games, Evan, that affect the Packers. We've got two huge games, and the first one is the Bears at the Browns, and there's some huge news coming out of Chicago today. Jay Cutler is starting this game, Evan. So I want to spend a little bit of time on this one.
Move.
And I'll tell you what, I'm going to let you talk first. I don't want to steal your thunder, but I've got some thoughts about putting Cutler in the game. But you got the 7-6 Bears tied for first in the North, going to the 4-9 Browns, who have lost their last 3. They've lost 7 of 8. Their season has went into the toilet. Jason Campbell starting at quarterback. They don't really have a great running game. Really, the only bright spot on that team is Josh Gordon, who's at 1,400 yards. Who's going to win this game, Evan?
It all depends on what Jay Cutler shows up, and if the Browns are able to generate any kind of pressure on Cutler. I get why the Bears feel they have to start him. He's a free agent at the end of the year, and the Bears have to decide if he's their long-term answer quarterback or not. You know, McCollum, as great as he's played, he's not the long-term answer quarterback. He's 34 years old. He's probably he's been a career backup for a reason. They have to figure out if Cutler is that franchise guy. So I get why they're starting Cutler, but I would still start the hot hand. But on the who's winning, it all depends on which Cutler shows up. If the Browns generate some pressure on Cutler and Cutler's Cutler, then I could see the Browns pulling off the upset. Especially, you know, the team seemed to play better with Campbell. They were playing much better before Campbell, I believe, had a concussion, and it's been the Brandon Weeden show, I think, last week. And they just seem to play better with Campbell, just like they were playing better with Hoyer earlier in the year. I don't think the Bears have an answer for Gordon. I think the Bears have to focus on shutting everything else down, like slowing down Willis McGahee, shutting down the other weapons, and limiting the damage that Gordon does. And for the Bears, Jeffrey has been playing outstanding. Forte played an outstanding game against the Cowboys. So can the Bears, can the Browns win it? Yeah, they definitely can. And if they can generate pressure on Cutler, they definitely will. But I think the Bears do win this game, but I think they only win by 4.
Well, unfortunately, I got to say the Bears win too. I'll throw that out right now because I do want to talk a little bit. And you know, the keys that you mentioned, I don't have anything much different than you. You know, I'll say it today. I'll say it 10 years from now when we're still doing this because I really believe we will be. You and I pretty much agree on keys to most games. And, you know, I think you mentioned something very important is can the Browns get McGahee started? Because the Bears' rush defense is last in the NFL. Now, the Browns haven't had a spectacular running game, but I like him as a running back. And if they want to attack the Bears and make this a game, they will start running the ball with him. And I think they can have a good day running the ball. And like you said, if they start running the ball, I don't think there's any way they can stop Gordon. And I think they can make it a game. Unfortunately, I'm looking at the offense. Now, with that said, Jeffrey has been playing really well, but who was his quarterback when he started playing really well? It was McCollum. And Marshall has just put up another Brandon Marshall year. 84 catches, almost 1,100 yards. That's just a Brandon Marshall. That's expected of Brandon Marshall. I mean, that is going to be there, no matter who the quarterback is. Those are Brandon Marshall numbers. They've been scoring 28.3 points per game. But again, I'm going to say it, and I sound like a broken record. Who has the quarterback been? It's Ben McCown. I don't understand, Evan, and I know what you're saying. Free agent year, he was the starter. You don't lose your job because you're a starter. But what are they thinking? They're tied for first. They need to win this game. If they lose a game, they're going to be pretty much out of this because they lose the head-to-head tiebreaker with the Lions. So really, they're a game behind the Lions. So I read that when I was doing the research and I saw on ESPN, Cutler is starting. I really scratched my head going, what are you thinking? You know, he may be healthy, but at least let him start the game. And if he falters, then maybe you can bring Jay Cutler in and say, hey, look, he was just a backup. We brought Cutler in because he was ready to play. That's my thought on that. But do you have anything else on that? I mean, I think. Go ahead.
I think that would be the better thing to do. Because now if Cutler falters, now you got to bring McCown back in. But like I said, I think, like I was saying before, I think the biggest reason, it's biggest reason is the Browns. And the other reason is they have to decide if Cutler is that franchise guy or not looking beyond this year. But I just don't really like the timing of it. But, hey, it is the Browns, I guess.
Yeah, it is the Browns. And you know what? It's the Bears. I really don't care. I was actually, when I saw that, I was like, that's stupid, but I like it. Because it gives, in my opinion, the guy hasn't played in the game in how long? The guy, in my opinion, too, is a gunslinger. And so that'll give that Browns defense some opportunities. I thought McCown really took care of the football and really was efficient in that offense. And so when I'm looking at it, maybe there are some football gods looking down on the Packers because they're going to let the Bears start Cutler. And, you know, I'm saying they're going to win the game, but I just don't think this was the right move. I really don't believe it was the right move. And you and I will definitely have something to talk about Monday if they lose this game with Cutler at quarterback. I mean, the people in Chicago are probably going to tear him up if they don't win this game. You know, and like I said, I don't see the Browns winning this game. There's not a whole lot to play for. They haven't been impressive. I mean, yeah, they took the Patriots down to that last call, but I just don't see enough there to beat the Bears. But with that said, moving in under 10 minutes, Evan, let's go to the game that may be of most importance to the Packers, which is the Ravens at the Lions on Monday night. You got two 7-6 teams here. Ravens are 7-6, currently the 6th seed in the AFC. The Lions, 7-6, like I said, tied with the Bears for first in the NFC North. This is a huge game for both teams. And for Packer fans, we had mentioned, Evan, we need them to lose 2 of 4, and we need to win out. This could be number 2. Right here, the Ravens going into Detroit on Monday night. What do you think about this one?
Well, I think it will be number 2 because you look at the Ravens, you look at that team. They have Torrey Smith, who's a dangerous receiver. You give Joe Flacco time to throw the football. He can be a very effective quarterback. And Ray Rice is very dangerous, both running the ball and catching the ball out of the backfield. And the Ravens, the defense might not be as stout as it's been in the past, but it's still a solid defense. I believe they're a top 10 defense. You can correct me if I'm wrong, statistically. And they still got Suggs, and they got Elvis Dumerville. You know, they can get pressure on the quarterback. And I just think if, you know, Reggie Bush isn't 100%, I don't know what his status is for Sunday, but regardless, he's not 100%. So they're going to be missing Bush. And Stafford, if you get pressure on him, he's going to panic. And I see the Ravens getting pressure on Stafford, and the Lions' secondary is very poor. And I see Flacco being able to connect with some big passes, and I see the Ravens improving their playoff hopes, and I see Detroit being knocked down a peg or two this week. So this would be 2 out of 4 Sunday.
Well, I'm hoping it's 2 out of 4, Evan. So I'm gonna disagree with you. I think the Lions have enough at home to beat the Ravens. I don't want them to. So again, I wish it would be number 2 because I think this is the best opportunity of the 3 remaining games for it to happen. But I think at home, I think offensively, Stafford and Johnson are going to be able to exploit the Ravens secondary on Monday night. Hopefully Rice can get going, but he's been very inconsistent this year. But, you know, like you said, still a very good running back. He can break it out any time. The Lions at times, yeah, they had been moving up the ranks and shutting down the run, but a part of that was Thanksgiving Day. They just totally shut down the Packers' run game. That vaulted them up in yards per game. But there are some weaknesses. I know the Packers had sliced them in the first meeting. There are some running lanes to be had, but I just think offensively, I was looking and watching the game on Sunday between the Lions and the Eagles. I know the Eagles' defense isn't as good as the Ravens, and I am looking this up as I talk. But I saw some, the one thing in there is that Stafford and Johnson, I think, are just going to be too much for that Ravens defense. I think Flacco, when he's in the game, I'm not I can't really talk as much to the offensive line because I haven't watched a lot of Ravens games. But I think when Flacco's going to get under pressure, he's like a number of quarterbacks. I don't think he's that quarterback that handles that pressure really well. And I think that Lions defensive line gets him out of rhythm. And so, unfortunately, I think the Lions are going to beat the Ravens. I hope it's the other way for Packer fans. But, like I said, when I look at it, when I do my evaluation, I'm seeing that Baltimore is going to fall just a little bit short on Monday night. So, but with that said, let's recap real quick because I know you have one upset, Evan, and I don't have any this week. But we had the Patriots at the Dolphins. We both think the Patriots are going to take care of business in that game. We have the Bengals at the Steelers. You and I both agree that the Steelers are going to come out and win this game. We got the Bears at the Browns. Once again, we agree. We're 3 out of 3. It always seems to be the last game, Evan, that we disagree on. It just seems to be that way. Ravens at Lions. You're taking the Ravens. I'm taking the Lions. Like I said, big game. All 4 of these games have huge playoff implications. As we were going through the schedule yesterday, going over our show, we went through the NFL schedule, and we were looking for our upset picks. I had one that I thought was on the fence. In an intriguing game, Saints at the Rams. When I did more research and I looked at stuff, I think the Saints are actually going to win it, but I think it's going to be a good game with the Saints going to the Rams. But I know you have one upset pick. You got a little over 3 minutes, bud. Go ahead and fill the fans in on your big upset pick of the week.
Well, I'll keep it quick. If you're looking to make your picks for this week and you want one game that it can be an upset, look no further than Houston and Indianapolis. Indianapolis has not been playing very good football lately, especially since the loss of Reggie Wayne. And there's something about a team when that coaching change is made and they have the interim coach. Look no further than Kansas City, Green Bay a couple years back when Romeo Cornell was coaching in his first game as the interim head coach. There's just something about that the team seems to get amped to play. And the Texans have a lot of talent. They have Andre Johnson. They have J.J. Watt. And I see the Texans pulling off the upset and beating the Indianapolis Colts, who are reeling right now. Who also the offensive line isn't very good for the Colts either. So I see the Texans winning.
Well, you're absolutely right now. The Colts have kind of backed into that division title like you and I had talked about a couple weeks ago, is that, they went out and against the Bengals, Andrew Luck did not look like the quarterback that he can be. And so they have been struggling, and you had mentioned it, I believe, in last week's Ramble. Ever since Reggie Wayne went down, that offense has just not clicked. They traded for Richardson. He wasn't the answer. And they've just been struggling offensively to try and find an identity since Reggie Wayne went down. When those type of players go down, people will say next man up. But look at the Packers. Rodgers goes down. Okay, well, next man up. Well, that's a different position. But when these key players go down, sometimes it's very hard.
90 seconds.
Man, our lady there, Evan, with 90-second warning. But the thing that I see is they just haven't been able to find an identity and get into any type of rhythm since Reggie Wayne went down. And when I look at this, I think the Texans have a great opportunity to beat the Colts also. When I did my picks, though, I did pick Indianapolis. I didn't pick it as an upset, but I think it's going to be a very good game. And they got a great opportunity to go to Indianapolis and beat the Colts. So with that said, bud, we have 1 minute. If you want to wrap it up, that's great. I know we had another great ramble today. As always, thank you for co-hosting, bud. But go ahead and wrap it up.
Well, it's a pleasure co-hosting with you. I love doing the show. I love our fans. Love your daily CowboyFootballFix.com and the support we get from them. And just as I said yesterday, regarding something I do on the side, if interested, Facebook.com/Coach E-Dubs Fitness, consulting with Team Beachbody, coach for them, and what that means is, if you need any help with supplements or workouts, stuff like that,
10
like my
seconds.
page and follow me there. Follow me on Twitter, EW1250 intern. So that's all I got to say.
We'll see you at the next red light, everyone. Have a great day.